You've probably heard of the infinite monkey theory. It states that if you put a monkey in a room with a typewriter, given an infinite amount of time, the monkey will almost surely write Shakespeare's Hamlet. Almost surely being the key words. What's that have to do with converting a car to electric? Well, you see, I'm the stupid monkey. This 1976 Lancia is my typewriter. Converting it to electric is my Hamlet. Follow me down as I see if I can get this car running under electric power. Sounds easy, right? Super easy. The main things that it needs is fuse bar for all the low voltage wiring, lathe a coupler to make the EV motor to the manual transmission, adapter plate to hold the EV motor to the transmission, and lastly, 3D scan the battery box to make spacers that keep the batteries snug. Barring any distractions, I should be able to have this done in time for the car show. Okay, well, maybe a few distractions.
A patron offered me help with my motorcycle, and I'm gonna go meet him. So if I disappear, this guy was named Casey.
Yeah, so I'll give you the quick rundown. Original transmission's right here, and then the motor used to sit here, and it was, like this big.
Pause. This is a flywheel. It's critical that its surface stays absolutely smooth and clean. It's what your clutch pushes against on your manual transmissions. I need to get this one surfaced, but for now, I'm removing the starter ring. EV motors don't need starter rings. I am keeping the manual transmission on my EV conversion, so I'll still be able to work through the gears and the clutch as I'm carving through the mountains. I have a hard time finding a shop that can resurface one of these. After I filmed this part, I found out the one shop in my area that can do it told me it'll be cheaper just to buy a new one. So it turns out this hammer and fire was just for fun. I need to create a centralized spot for all the EV low voltage wiring components. Here looks good. When I started the fuse bar, I remember thinking the challenging work was behind me. I was naive, and I'd pay for that later. For now though, I ignorantly allowed myself to enjoy the process of making the fuse bar. I made the first bar fit the car well, but there wasn't enough space for all the components. You can see here how much wider the second one is, that's in blue. And it was at about this point I realized they didn't have equal spacing from each other, and that the MCU would sit about an inch off from the center line of the car. Let me just pick that up real quick to show the comparison with version 3. Now every component has a home, 1 inch spacing between them, riv nuts to hold them, and the bar fits clean and snug against the firewall. And most importantly, the MCU is on center line with the car and the battery box. Perfectly balanced, as all things should be. In the EV conversion community, there's a term that I absolutely hate. It's put on a pedestal and given a sense of power above all else in the conversion process. When people speak of it, they do so in hushed tones, as to not be called out for the lack of understanding of it. Most conversions avoid it altogether out of fear. It is the magic number, and it refers to the distance between the motor side mating surface and the flywheel mating surface. When mounting your EV motor to the flywheel, you have to match that gap that the original gas motor had. Doing so allows the clutch to operate properly and it has to be exact. I don't know what God-fearing asshole coined the term magic number, but they are wrong to do so. You don't have to be a wizard to figure it out. It's not magic, it's science. You just need irrefutable data and math. You can do it the analog way, or you can use one of these tools, a 3D scanner. Don't ask me how it works, it's practically magic. Once you have these numbers, you can plug them into this simple formula that took me 2 days to come up with. Given the mathematical solution, I'm no longer calling this the magic number. From here forward, it is now the mathematically accurate gap index calculation number. But that's a little too long, so let's just abbreviate it. Ah, shit, never mind. Anyways, here's the end result, adapter plate. Crankshafts are pretty hard to find for these engines, and if you're able to find them, they're typically expensive. This one was a gift. I needed it to make the coupler that mounts the EV motor to the flywheel. Flip-flops might not be the best choice here. Before I can really get going on this though, I need to make a mount for a 4-jaw lathe chuck. They are more precise than a 3-jaw, and I don't think this part will fit in the 3-jaw that I have. What should be a side quest turns into a boss battle. Precision. This is a dead man's lathe. That's not a play on words or a machinist term. This lathe belongs to a dead man, and I bought it from his daughter at an estate sale. It's a bit undersized for the job. It'll work, but it's going to take more time, like a lot more time, to achieve the precision I need. The enemy of precision is variables, and the dead man's lathe creates a few. The dead man mounted his lathe to plywood. Plywood flexes. The lathe stand is on wheels. Wheels are designed to move. The small size of this lathe allows for flex between the tool post and the material. And lastly, this one runs off 120 volt versus a standard 240 volt. I respect the dead man's craftsmanship that went into these variables. It was probably exactly what he needed, but I need precision. When working on a lathe, it's easy to get into a rhythm, a melodic step-by-step process as metal chips away metal. Watching your parts emerge out of a raw chunk of metal can be hypnotic. 4 to 1.123. 4 to 1.123. 4 to 1.23. And then you screw it up. Instead of boring the inside to 1.123, you bore it to 1.23. And if you're wondering how I made that mistake, go back to the voiceover during the montage and see if you caught where I switched from one to the other. Maybe the lathe is cursed. Now I have to start all over again from scratch. I can't find anything on Marketplace. Not seeing anything on the forums. eBay isn't looking too good, but there is this one that might be mislabeled. The bolt pattern that's common is M10. I need M12. If I zoom and enhance on these pictures and compare it to the one I have, it looks close enough. And with that, it was time for the Best of France and Italy car show. There was cool cars I'd never seen before, blue cars that were really small, more blue cars that were small, and this cool Alpha, and this Porsche 355, this cool Volkswagen Golf, and look, it even had my car. At least, that's where my car would be had I finished it. This was a show where I bought my car 2 years ago, so having it here this year would have been a fitting bookend to the EV conversion. But it wasn't meant to be, and it wasn't from lack of trying. Two things kept the Lancia from being here on time. I'd screwed up the coupler, and the battery spacers that I haven't shown yet went completely off the rails. So about the spacers. I needed something to keep the individual battery modules from bouncing around inside the aluminum battery box that I TIG welded. Probably the easiest way to do this would be to put the batteries in there and then spray the area with expanding foam. And if I had no respect for you all watching, I'd try to convince you all why that's the best way to do this. But it's a hack idea. A proper way to do this job is to 3D scan the box and then in CAD, add the batteries and determine the negative space. With that, I can 3D print the spacers out of a PPA CF. Here's the issue though. The box won't scan. The reflective surface is too shiny for the scanners to pick up, which is why you see the powder and balls of tape. But combined with a relatively small opening and the flat geometry, it's just not possible. And it's at this point here where historians will agree I lost my mind. So no voiceover on this next part. Just lose your mind with me and you can fill in the blanks. In the meantime, the crankshaft from eBay arrived. It was time to see if the bolt pattern matched. It also came with this free box. Not sure what it's about. But look, distributor cap. Something I won't need. Oh, and it's damaged. So basically this guy sent me some trash. Okay, onto the crankshaft. I knew it would fit. I wasn't worried. And back over to the lathe. 4 to 1.23. Wait, sorry, but this is bothering me. He literally sent me garbage. Hold on a second. There we go. 4 to 1.23. Second try came out perfect. It's no longer the dead man's lathe. It's my lathe now. Next, you have to mount the coupler onto the motor. It's a pretty high stakes procedure, but as long as you do everything right, it goes smoothly. The coupler is undersized, so you have to heat it to over 500 degrees. But once you hit that temperature, the coupler slides right on the motor shaft. Now you only really get one shot at it, because as soon as it gets on there, it starts cooling down right away. So it's important not to mess this step up, because there's no redos. Oh fuck. Oh fuck. Fuck. Fuck, fuck, fuck. 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 Holy fuck. Fuck. What the fuck? Fuck. Fuckity fuck. 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 Finally. Hydraulic press saved me. Fuck. In the end, the clutch goes on just fine. After the battery and the coupler fiasco, I needed something simple to take the edge off. This was the state of the car at the end of my last video. 291 days later, this is the car now. It's a unique sense of pride, making something from scratch with your hands. The harder the effort, the more you can appreciate the end result. The hardest parts of this were also completely avoidable. The battery boxes you can get pre-made. The coupler and adapter plate you can also buy, made to order. Forget my wedding day, forget the birth of either of my two children. This moment right here, this is the most joy I've ever felt. Just look at that smile beaming across my face. I'm not smiling because there's still work to be done. Let me show you. None of these gauges work yet. Still got a bit of a nest of wires here to fix. This is the instrument panel. This is where the gear shifter would be. Right now I'm just set in what's either first or second gear. For reverse, I just do it on the motor and spin it backwards. This cracked windshield I gotta deal with. This is just busted. But I'm happy. Now that I accomplished the goal, given that the car's electric, it's quiet. My mind is also quiet. And like the last line in Hamlet, the rest is silence.